My name is Marisol Quintanilla, and I'm the applied nematologist from Michigan State University. My lab has 8 other members. My technician, Brian, has been the one that has done most of the soybean work and done the cover crop work. Soybean cyst nematode is the biggest yield robber of soybeans, the biggest yield robbing pathogen in North America. That means this is a very important pest, a very important nematode. And once it's established in your field, it is it's very difficult, nearly impossible to get rid of. You can have a field and not plant soybeans for 10 years. And even after that, when you plant soybeans again, they will hatch out of the cyst and infest your soybeans. So that leads us to the very important point that trying to prevent from getting soybean cyst nematode should be your #1 priority. So if you don't have it, try to not get it. How do you not get it? Try to make sure to use clean machinery. When you move from an infested field to a clean field, wash, etc. Sample your fields in order to know whether you have it or not. And if you do have it, if you do have soybean cyst nematodes, there are some things that you can do. We've been doing some trials. And one of the #1 things that you can do to manage soybean cyst nematode is to plant resistant varieties. Fortunately, there's now more than one source of resistance. The most common source of resistance is P8788 that has been used for about the last 20 years consistently in many soybean fields. I would say maybe most soybean fields. And what has happened is that soybean cyst nematode is developing resistance to P8788. In other words, it is breaking the resistance. Kind of similar, like using the same herbicide on the wheat for 20 years, what happens? Your weeds no longer die with that herbicide. Same concept. Well, there's another source of resistance called Peking. And on the first year, when you first use Peking, you get a big yield boost because it's a different source of resistance and nematodes are not used to it. So it's a good strategy to rotate P8788 with Peking, which are mainly the only 2 commercial sources of resistance available. So our trials have shown that rotating Peking with P8788 is the most effective. If we have tried planting Peking back to back, and after you plant Peking for 3 years in a row, what happens is that you do see a yield decline. So we do not recommend growers to switch from P8788 to Peking because they'll have a yield decrease. We recommend them to rotate. On the years that they grow soybeans, sometimes they can use a P8788 source of resistance and sometimes a Peking source of resistance. Now moving to other strategies to manage nematodes. There's also seed treatment. We have found in our trials about a 2 bushel yield bump with a Levo and BioST. That is not a big yield bump, but it is there, and we have found some significant difference on that. We also have found that manure, such as chicken manure, applied in the corn year, has some decrease in soybean cyst nematode numbers, but the decrease is modest. It is not going to eliminate them, but it does help a bit. Another thing that is very exciting and new, and that we're working especially with Dr. George Bird, is a trap crop. A trap crop, it is a plant similar to soybeans that the nematodes go inside the soybeans, inside the roots, and start feeding, but they're not able to reproduce. And our trials are showing very good success in this, and it is very effective in reducing soybean cyst nematode numbers, causing cysts to hatch. Nematodes are going inside the root, but they're not able to reproduce, so their numbers are crashing. So soybean cyst nematode is an important nematode, and I want to reiterate one of the most important management practices: prevent from getting it. Also, rotate with non-host, things like corn, wheat, pretty much anything that is not soybean. Rotate resistant varieties. P88 with Peking. If you do have it, rotate. Do not switch to Peking and only use Peking. Peking is a great tool to increase yield, but it breaks down if you use it many years in a row. So rotate a Peking source of resistance with a P88 source of resistance. There's other exciting things like manures, seed treatments, and the most exciting thing right now for us is that trap crop that we are evaluating further. Mainly, this is Dr. George Bird's idea, and the results are very exciting so far, showing that this trap crop lets the nematodes go in and feed and grow but not reproduce, so it's lowering down the numbers, trapping them from the field. And so I would recommend you to send. The most important thing is send samples from your field to the Plant Diagnostic Lab at Michigan State University. This is covered by the Michigan Soybean Promotion Committee by the soybean checkoff dollars. Sample and do a randomized, do a sample like in a V shape or zigzag in your field and submit it to the Plant Diagnostic Lab. And also ask to check what source, what SCN type do you have? What soybean cyst nematode type? In other words, can that SCN feed successfully, reproduce successfully in P8788 or Peking, or is it well controlled by both? That can help you make smarter management decisions. So I wish you the best and best success of growth this year and yields for soybean.